asked them to at least send me an email, and I'll let Barb or I'll email forward over to Charlie if it's going to be on the 13th.
Well, it
So
should
you
go
have
to
some
all of us,
notice
because I think
to show up on the 13th.
all of us want to have some input, because the ZBA was involved in that, and wetlands.
Yeah, well,
I know it's different,
wetlands
but
is
they
not on.
worked
They're
with
going to
us.
take wetlands separately. They want to take one at a time because I asked them about wetlands. And,
Well, they worked with us. They may want
Right.
to come in and hear anyway.
but it'll be either the 13th or I guess the 19th would be the next meeting after that.
Okay, because by the looks of the report from the zoning enforcement officer, we're still in dire need of something.
Yep.
It's not that we want to, but it's almost we have to, unfortunately.
And also following up, there's as I just mentioned, I'm not going to be in the office all of next week. Luckily, we have no application to be received. I didn't, it worked out. I didn't plan it that way, but, so the next week's packets will have your agendas. You won't see any memos from me. If there's any need for a memo, I'm going to have to email you or deliver it at that night, because I won't be back in the office till the 13th, which is 2 days before the meeting. If any new material comes in regarding any of the applicants that we've continued to re-noticed, I'll make sure they get in your packets, and so bear with us for that, for next week's packets. It should be light anyway. The other thing you had asked me about was accessory in-law apartments, and then, you know, I did some research, and I'm just going to pass these out. I don't think we need, you know, I don't want to end up with any discussion right here. Actually,
I think there was an article in one of the planning magazines, things that were going on with that,
yeah,
and other places, but
and I did have a draft, but I'm certainly going to get in here, so if I got a chance, I'll go upstairs and grab it. Print out.
Thanks.
But this is
Okay.
this is somewhat elaborate. I took a few towns in Connecticut and made a draft of it. You know,
yeah, this is the one out of the, yeah.
it just talks about,
Thank you.
you know, generally
That was out of the planning
very good.
magazine.
the issues involved with accessory. And actually, let me see.
Take that home.
Take it back. No, I don't have it. Or maybe I do.
Here we go. I did print it. I just was in a different packet. This is sort of the little draft I took, things from Windsor, Granby, Avon, Thompson, and sort of came up with a draft. Wait till I sit down and explain it.
Thank you.
But this, that was what was in the book too, in the planning magazine there. It was extended family, and a lot of these people aren't using them for an extended family.
Correct, but I think that's the only way we allow them now. Now, you can, I mean, you can
Yeah, I
always.
know it is.
If you're in a neighborhood that has a duplex, that is predominantly two-family, there are provisions in our regulations for people to come in and get two-family dwellings. I mean, if you're the only single family on the block, you're entitled to come in under special use permit and apply for a two-family house. If you're the only, if there are no two families in a block and it's a single-family neighborhood, you're not entitled to do that under regulations. Now, this basically will put some standards. The one from the National talks about accessory housing in general, not so much in-law apartments, but providing, you know, extra apartments regardless of whether someone's a relative or not. The one that I've drafted is basically an in-law apartment type of thing, and it's called in-law, but it could be anybody that's related by, let's see, yeah, it has to be related by blood, or marriage, or adoption.
Well,
I believe is one of the.
so that really doesn't solve the problem really for a lot of people that are renting these out as rentals.
No, I mean, if you just want to do it as an accessory without you know, by special permit, without limiting it to a family, you can do so
Sure.
also.
Well,
I mean, I just, that's the way we've been allowing them without any kind of oversight or standard or permit or way
Right.
of checking. This says that you have to, every 2 years, submit an affidavit. You gotta sign an affidavit. This gets on the land. The problem is, people get them, they just come in and get a building permit signed off by the zoning officer. Nothing goes on the land records. They sell the house. Somebody comes in, sees it, well, this got a nice new
Well,
apartment.
that, yeah,
Person buys it, not realizing that it was an in-law figure. It's just, they can rent it out, and then either, it's usually a tenant that leaves or is upset with the landlord that calls in and says, by the way, this person was renting to me, and drops a dime on them. So this at least will say that it gets on the land records. The special use will, and the person will have
well, that'll
a
take,
signed agreement that once the use ceases, they understand that they have to remove the apartment, and it defines what removal is, which is, actually removal all kitchen appliances, fixtures, and utility lines and pipes, servicing them, or the permanent safe cutting under capping of those lines and pipes to the satisfaction of the building official and zoning enforcement officer. So it sets some very clear standards as to what we'll consider the discontinuance. A lot of people just say, well, I'm just gonna use it to let my friends hang around as a place to watch football games. And that, we can't police that, and it's very difficult, so you have to have a standard. So take a look at it. I mean, that's my
Okay,
first.
let's-
Just to look at this informally, and then perhaps it might come up in a future meeting.
Yeah, well, right, if you think this is good, or you want to tweak it, at the next, at any time, you can say, let's get it as an application, get it to CROG.
would you put that then on, not right now, but down on other business?
Sure.
just
I
to
can
keep
start
it as
putting it
a-
on the
as a-
agenda, but, and I've also.
Along with our poultry, which I see is not there either?
Yep. Oh, it's not on it again? Oh, I must have tried to,
All right.
I don't think we had anything, but I think I was just trying to get everything on one
No,
page.
I know, but that's the only way we can keep track of
Trying to
things that
save
we
paper.
haven't done.
No, we will.
Okay.
I had one thing. Somebody told me about, there was a new company out there that had like an in-law trailer, but it looked like a little house.
Yes, it
You
is.
hooked it up to your property, and it was mostly developed because a lot of the parents are sickly. They might only stay 6 months or a year. You rent them, and then after they either go into a nursing home or pass on, then the rental ends and the trailers are gone. I'm
It's a single-
thinking,
It's a lady, yeah. I
yeah,
heard that too.
and I'm thinking that might address some of the issues about what do you do when these go away. And I know that we have very specific rules about the trailers, but I don't think that these are like an ugly type of trailer. The type of trailer that, it looks like a little house. It's supposed to be aesthetically pleasing, but then you'd have it for the time you needed to have your parent there, and they'd be in a separate quarters.
I'm not sure that these actually would prohibit that type of an arrangement. I know it says that they have to be mostly contained within the existing single-family structure, but if it cannot be accommodated entirely within the existing single-family structure, the accessory apartment may include additional finished floor area not to exceed 450 square feet. I don't think those would be that large, so.
Right.
So,
But I think that our
the
other
minimum is
regulations.
400, and the maximum would be 600, so
Right.
a trailer like that, unless it's under 400, if you have that information.
I can get it.
you can
I
tweak
just-
that
that's
number
why
to
I'm-
allow those type of trailers to come in, but I don't
I
think
just
it
didn't know
prohibits
if
it.
that conflicted with the trailer, that we have the no trailer part of the other regulation, so that's why I'm mentioning it now. I'll ask to get the information and get a little bit more about it.
If we need to put something in here that says that temporary housing in accordance with this section
Right.
does not fall under this prohibition, we could do that also.
Because I think it's
I'm not sure it
mostly,
is prohibited, though.
right now, people that are trying to take their parents in short-term before they're not nursing home ready, but they just need extra care. So they're having a problem because it's one floor. They might be living in a colonial. That's why they want to do these apartments. But if there was another form for them to do, I think it might be better.
Yeah, if you can give me that, if you know where that is, or give me
I'll
the
get it to
information, I'll
you.
try to work it in. I I'm not sure that we would, this necessarily would exclude
Well, we
that.
can work-
but
we can
could-
work on
if-
that.
If it's a problem with coverage, maybe we can exclude
can
those
work
type
it
of
in.
things from coverage, since they're not gonna be permanent structures, as long as they don't stay there for X amount of time. So if you have some literature, where, can point me to a webpage or something, I'll be happy to research it.
I'll ask, because somebody mentioned it, and I'll ask them where they got the information from.
I'll be happy to research it and see how it fits.
I have one question. Is this going to cover, I know you were talking about in-laws that are attached to the house, and there also are in-law apartments that are above garages that aren't attached to the house. I mean, does that fall under the same?
We don't allow them now. This particular regulation, I would not allow it, but it's certainly if that's something the commission wishes to allow. I think.
Because,
I
I mean,
think
there
that
are
one,
in-law
that-
apartments, they call them in-law apartments, but they're above the garage
Right.
rather
It
than,
doesn't-
right attached to the house.
In a
don't
detached
allow
garage.
in the
That-
detached
that
structures right now.
Makes it a duplex,
So-
when you got two families, or two, if it's a rental.
It's not a
They're-
duplex.
Well, it's a rental, they're renting rooms, which isn't allowed in residential.
No, it could be for a family member. I mean,
Well,
it's,
then
but it's
it falls
just,
under that.
it's not attached to the house. It's attached to
a
either a
separate-
garage
it's a
or
separate living-
something.
There's two practical
Yeah.
things with that. It'd have to be a pre-existing non-conforming garage, because detached structures can't be more than 12 feet high anyway. So,
Yeah.
so unless it's an existing garage, we'd have to tweak that. Right now, we don't allow any
No, because I know of them. I've seen them.
residential. yeah,
so,
resident- I'm sure there are some pre-existing
yeah.
detached
I know
garages.
Same,
no,
I know
no.
there's houses with in-laws that are rented, I mean, I don't know how you're gonna prevent that,
Well,
but,
that's what that thing
Yeah,
may
right.
do.
Well, if you put it on, you have a way of allowing them and permitting them, and you get them on the land records, at least the homeowner can't say they didn't know. When there is a complaint and someone.
See, that's a problem. We did
yeah.
allow several years back a lot of
And these would get on the
in-law
land
apartments,
records, and they said,
now-
well,
and they didn't realize they couldn't rent them afterwards?
right,
Is that-
yeah.
the conditions would be right on there, and
Okay.
so.
Well, and then they would at least be
And
Some
aware
some
of
would
it.
run
the closing, their
into,
attorney would tell them exactly what the-
problems with the
what
zoning
the
enforcement
situation
officer
was.
and so forth.
Okay.
So, but again, you can tweak them any way you like. That's just my first
right.
attempt
We'll
at a
take a-
draft.
Okay. Anything else, Jose?
Just if you notice across the street, looks Kia's done. The plantings are in. They're pretty much ready for a certificate of compliance. I think the only thing missing right now is an as-built, which should
Saw
get us
the
in the
lights
next couple of days, and they'll be good to go. So you should start seeing cars on that lot very soon.
The only other thing, Jose, is missing on our agendas are action dates.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. They've been usually pretty good about that. But
I know, but
no, I missed it this one. I must have done this real
Okay.
quick. So
Question, I have a question. On the November 10th Planning and Zoning Training Session at Central Connecticut, who's going? I am. I was wondering who else is going to
I
carpool.
think Marianne from I don't think anyone on the PZC is. I
Okay.
think Marianne is going from ZBA. I think Maurice Rosa's going from ZBA. But Barbara has the list. I told her to call around on the 8th.
Whichever call, make sure she calls me. He's like, well, I'm on a carpool with somebody, that's all.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
I told her to call everybody on the 8th, just to remind them, which is a week from today. So at that point, if, I know there's a couple of, if I get an email, I'll shoot it, I'll try to shoot it tomorrow.
This is the one that's a week from Saturday.
It's a week from this Saturday,
Right.
10th, at the Central Connecticut.
okay, anything further for Jose? Hearing nothing at this point in the meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes comments, concerns, and opinions relating to planning and zoning in Enfield from anyone who's present, provided no one may discuss any matter of business at this time that is already elsewhere on the agenda, any matter that's part of an open public hearing of the commission, or any matter where a decision of the commission may be pending. Is there anyone would like to address the commission? Anyone would like to address the commission? Last call. Anyone would like to address the commission? Yes, sir?
Are you guys trying to change like how houses are built?
I'm sorry, if you come forward, yeah, because we can't hear you. I hope you can hear us, but, yeah, and if you would, give your name and address, and
Yeah, just sit down, it'll be fine, that'll pick up.
All right. Can you guys hear me now? All right.
if you give your name
State
and
your
address for us, just for the record.
Okay, I'm Owen Bury, and I'm 628 Blue Hills. And my question is, are you guys like trying to change like the way houses are being like built, or this is a little bit confused on something.
Not at this point. What the discussion was that years ago, the town, and many towns did at that time, allowed for what they called in-law apartments, which would be apartments that are attached to the regular house. And people have bought these houses and have rented them out. And the reason, and in residential areas, you aren't allowed to have rental units. And the zoning enforcement officer has found several of these. And what we're trying to do is take a look at them and find what we can do.
So you guys don't approve of it, or do you guys actually think it could
Well,
work? All right, thank you.
It would require a public hearing if we would change it. It's whether or not the public approves of it.
Okay, I see.
Whether or not people in a residential area would like to have, it would be ended up like having rental units next door to them. And
Okay,
that's the
so that's what's going
problem.
to be voted on, correct?
It would have to go to a public hearing, yes.
Public hearing. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll move on to correspondence, and if you will notice, one of them I picked up, and I was showing to our chicken lady to my left. There was, Summers was tweaking their regulations, and it's a proposed zoning regulation amendment regarding keeping of hens in residential properties. So, maybe we can finish ours. I mean, this is, I think it's the longest one it's taken us to pass in years. But so much for that, and there was nothing on our things today. Commissioners' correspondence, there was nothing. I think you had some magazine in your material in your pocket. Anything from the commissioners that they wish to discuss at this time? Is everything all right out in Hazardville there, Charlie? More or less.
Pretty much the same,
Nothing changes.
I did notice that the signs, that there is a sign now for Commissioner Ballard welcoming people to Hazardville.
Oh, very good.
There's a nice little sign as you're coming in, just before you get to the intersection of South, that's,
Yes, it's up high, but it's
right,
waving.
but it's, I know
there.
you've been pushing for years to get that, and I know, I happened to notice it the other day.
Will be very happy about that.
Good.
Oh,
We hope.
okay. All right, hearing you have no more correspondence, we'll move on to bond releases, which we have none. And we will go to our reading of the legal notice. Now, Jose, we, on public hearing 2771, this advertisement was incorrect. It gave the wrong address. It's in the newspaper, it was Hayes Street, which there is no such address, and therefore, by advice of the town attorney, we will not be hearing that. It has to be re-advertised correctly. And because the legal advertisement plus some of the other paperwork was Hayes Street. In fact, I think your the reading sheet in your packet says Hayes also. So this will not be heard tonight. Is the applicant here, or do we have to open it, Jose? The applicant
We
was
called the
notified?
applicant, and they were fine, we told him, don't, he didn't want to waste his evening by coming, if we were going to
Okay.
hear it, so I don't think we need to open it, because it was a defect in notice, so we should be
Well,
holding the
is there
hearing.
anyone here that was to speak on that? Hearing none, then okay, we'll move along.
Well, again, it was, yeah.
The next is, if the secretary will take the reading XCA 12.08, proposed text amendment to section 3.40.2, 3.40.4, and 3.40.5. This, for the gentleman that asked the question before, is similar. This is a change in zoning regulations, which we have brought up ourselves in order to change, and this is a public hearing that would regulate this, and this is how the public hearing would be held. Secretary, or the Vice President, please take the roll and read the legal notice.
Okay, Chairman Duran,
Here,
Vice Chair Elizabeth Ballard, Peter Falk,
backwards, I guess. It's
Second Vice Chair Kathleen Sarno here, Commissioner Longi.
Here.
Commissioner LaFakis.
Here.
Commissioner Ladd.
Here.
Commissioner Gregory. Commissioner Drynan.
Here.
Commissioner Alimo.
Commissioner Dryan will be sitting in for Commissioner Falk for this hearing.
Are you malicious?
Read the legal notice, please.
It is proposed text amendment. Proposed text amendment to sections 3.4.02, 3.40.4, and 3.40.5 to extend the time for reestablishing nonconforming buildings and uses. Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission initiative. The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearings on Thursday, November 1st, 2012, beginning at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Chambers, 820 Enfield Street.
Okay, Jose, you're going to act for the applicant?
Yeah, we are the applicant, so, yes, it's a fairly straightforward and simple change that, we've had a couple of instances where we've had structures that were destroyed by either snow a couple of years ago or fire this year, where, lately it's becoming very difficult with the insurance process and some of the investigations that need to go on to get a reconstruction, or at the point where you get a building permit and you start construction within 6 months of the damage. I think the 12 months is reasonable, and I know there was some concern whether this would encourage people to leave their properties as vacant or in disrepair for longer periods of time, but I think from a practical point of view, this will make it a little bit easier for people to rebuild something that was destroyed through no fault of their own. So you've really got two sections where we're just changing the language from 6 to 12. I also noticed while I was doing this that we have two sections, 3.40.4s. So, so I'm changing 3.044 to 3.40.5, which is the abandonment. And this was never caught before, so, which also says, that, there was a court case in their state, actually the state statutes say you cannot just make a non-conforming use, extinguish a non-conforming use by just the passing of time. You have to actually show an intent by the applicant or the person to actually discontinue the use. By
We had that problem with the
changing it
gas
to a
station.
different use is the primary way, or getting a site plan approval or something. A lot of times we get people in here, they submit a site plan, and sometimes they don't carry it forward. I don't know, that would probably be the next court case, whether that was a discontinuance or an intent to discontinue if no interim use had been put, but this gets rid of that section, which I think is not inconsistent with what the statutes state right now. So that's the basic changes. I think that's the only changes that we're doing to the regulations at this time. We're proposing anyway.
I guess you said, because Ginny, she had some concerns which you raised, had stated, the zoning enforcement officer on possible people abandoning it. But the one I had a question on is on the abandonment section. How do you determine that? What would the criteria? Because the state never put forth that, so it would carry on forever?
Well, if it's vacant, if the non-conforming use was there, I've seen non-conforming uses that were vacant for 10 years. The person never abandoned the use or never intended to abandon the use, or just because of bad economic times, we're not able to get a rental. If they've been actively, marketing the property for that use and just not having any kind of, I would imagine most people would want to have some kind of tenant in there if they had property. But this was a common
Well, no, we ran into
vision,
this.
and because I've dealt with a lot of regulations where we've had, where I've seen that language in there, and then the state, the legislature, I think in the 80s, or might have been the 90s, put language in there that said basically, there has to be an intent to abandon you.
Yeah, and that's why I was wondering, how do you prove it? Because when we had that 1 year, we did enforce it, but then I know we had, I think it was a gas station, and it had been closed, let's say, for several years, and they came in, and you couldn't say it was abandoned because a person claimed, well, I always wanted to open the gas station again.
Well, in the case of gas station, it could be just that, you know, that they need to do environmental studies, and it just sits
Well-
there, and the person doesn't want to do it because they're afraid of the liability, and then someone else comes in and says, well, I'll do the phase one, and I don't want to open it up, and if it's
Well, it
never-
just, to me, it sort of leaves everything hanging to try to prove
The only
it's
clear
abandoned.
standard is if someone actually puts it, I mean, the only way you can really clearly say they've abandoned it is if they put it in they've come in and got approval and for a more conforming or a conforming
Right,
use.
right.
So that's clear. I mean,
Okay,
Yeah.
so, all right.
After that, then it gets.
Okay. Anybody in the audience would care to speak in favor or against? Anyone in the audience would speak in favor or against? Anyone in the audience would care to speak in favor or against this change? Any of the commission? Yes?
I'd just like to say one thing that I think that should be pointed out. If you have a catastrophic event and you demolish that building within so many days, there's a state statute that says that you can go back to the date of the fire or destruction if you have it demolished in so many days. So it behooves people to take it down, because then their taxes get abated back to the date it got condemned. But I don't know if they're really aware of that. So I don't know if it's something that maybe the building department or with this stuff, if people realize that they take down the building, then they go back to the date of the destruction for their tax abatement, it's an incentive to get it down and not to linger for 6 months or whatever, because then they miss the timeline.
Correct. I mean, yeah, and I don't think the zoning matters whether you take it down or not.
Right.
It just, we consider it from the day of the fire. And that's the way that our regs read it.
But that would come up.
Whether you take it down or not,
So
it really
I,
doesn't matter, so it's in best interest to probably take it down.
it's the best interest of the party to take it down and not to have it linger out.
Correct.
No. I think
Yes.
we got more problem with abandonment due to mortgages than we do with damaged buildings anyway.
I agree.
Way
Well,
more of those buildings in town abandoned now than there
no,
is.
they had quite a problem down in back of the library, if you remember, on Pearl Street. I think the town finally took that.
Garden Street.
Oh, yes.
Street,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But, I know on my street, there's an abandoned building.
Oh, yeah,
the
I
bank's
know.
gotten
I
stuff.
Yeah.
That building is a mess. I don't know why the town doesn't
Person
do
told me the
something.
other day they got hit by a roof tile from it, and the town still doesn't do anything about it.
It fell off. The roof
blew
did.
off in the
Oh,
wind.
Yeah,
the wind, yeah.
the whole covering on the thing is
Yeah,
blowing all
but-
over the place.
The blight people looked at it, but they just stopped doing anything with it, I guess.
That's a big building, Jose. They should do something about that, but that's an aside, I guess. Anything further? Because now I'll have to open it up again. Again, anybody in the audience would speak in favor or against? Anyone in the audience who speak in favor or against? Last call to speak in favor or against. Jose, nothing to keep it open?
Nope.
No close, XZA 12.08. Well, nobody wants to.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve XZA number 12-08, proposed text amendment to sections 3.40.2, 3.40.4, and 3.40.5 to extend the time for reestablishing non-conforming buildings and uses as presented in the application record Enfield Planning and Zoning Commissioner Initiative effective November 19th, 2012, as spelled out in Exhibit 2 to this application, and further in a memo by Jose Geiner dated October 26, 2012.
I heard the second, Kathy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? No abstentions, unanimous, 700. Moving on, old business, there is none. New business, SPR 1575, site plan approval for a change of use from vacant former auto sales use to a business center with an existing building located in Business General BG, District 481, 483 Enfield Street, Mousepad Business Center. Applicant Frank Enterprise Owners. The applicant here, please come forward, present your case to the commission. Please give your names and addresses for the record.
Stephen Scott, 111 Maximilian Drive, Granby, Massachusetts.
Nate Pate, 14 New Zealand Road, Seabrook, New Hampshire.
Attorney Tom Fahey, Spring Street, Windsor Locks, representing the applicant. Both Steve and Nate are with the Mousetrap Business Center, Inc. And I'd like to start by saying we realize that there's some additional information that you don't have and we'll need to review this application. So would like to, talk about our application tonight, submit some additional information, and obviously we're not expecting to act on this tonight.
Well, if you, Attorney Fahey, after reading the application, I got concerned, and had I realized there were some additions to this that we didn't understand in the first place. Under section 9.10.3, page 82 of our zoning regulations, I would like to have a motion from one of the commissioners or the commission that we have a public hearing concerning this. Because I think it affects, from what I've read, I think it's going to affect the neighborhood.
I'll make a motion that SPR 15,
just
later?
Let him apply if he wants to.
Okay.
If you want, okay.
I would just like to offer this. I think you certainly have the right. I think give me that site again, 9.1?
10.3.
Thanks.
9.1.
Page 82.
Right, just for the record, that, and there's case law about it, you can take a site plan and make it a public hearing, except it still is a site plan.
So it's still a
So
site
you have
plan.
the same timeframes for acting on it. You don't have that extra hearing time added to it, plus the criteria is still the same for site plan.
All right, I have a different version, so I don't have it on page 8. It's 9.10. What?
3.
3, site plan review procedure. Public hearings are not required for site plan applications. However, the commission may hold public hearings for such applications when they determine it's in the public interest to do so.
It's on page 86.
When a public hearing is held, the notice
76
requirements
of
of section 9.20 shall be followed.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I understand that that's your right, but I think you're making a mistake doing it before you hear us. You may want to decide that, but you haven't given us an opportunity to give any input.
Well, I still think of what I've read, and that's up to the rest of the commission.
We just admitted you don't have a complete the information you have, we admit that you need more information to make this decision.
Then I meant to take it that you're objecting to that if we hold a public hearing to it?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just offering the information. Why would you want to?
Well, you can give us information if you'd like to tonight, but I still, on what I have read, I just suggesting the rest of the commission, they can do what they want. I'm just chairing the meetings. I'm just one member.
We do have information now that we have received from the police department that we have before us, and it's public information that might indicate that we think a public hearing would be a proper process. So, pending other information.
Well, if you'd like to present tonight, that's fine. We will accept your presentation tonight. All I'm saying is telling you that I would like someone on the commission, if they would like to make the motion.
Listen to them if we make it a public hearing? I mean,
no, it's true.
If we, I mean, I'm
started
more
as
than
an
willing to listen
SPR.
to what they have to say, but if we
That's what I mean.
decide to make it a public hearing,
They're going to have to redo it.
they'll have to, I mean.
Present
You'll
it
have to
again.
start
present it
over.
again, or do we
You
not
have to
listen?
redo it to let the public hearing have it. All I'm telling you is I would prefer a public hearing. It does affect the neighborhood. It is a residential area to the east and also to the west to a degree. You only have businesses on the front facing on Enfield Street.
And if it is a public hearing, the public needs adequate notice so they can hear what you have to say and then be able to
I
react to
understand
it.
all of that, and I understand that you have the right to do it. All I'm offering, and maybe, I guess I didn't get a chance to finish it, is that that's a decision that you have the right to make, but why would you want to give any indication you might be prejudging the application?
I'm not prejudging it.
No, I'm not saying you are, but by doing it now rather than hearing what we're saying, I mean.
Well, the only reason the public wouldn't be notified, so they would hear
Oh,
what you
you're
have
not,
to
we
say.
told you, we don't.
You may make the presentation, sir, if you would like to. I'm just saying, on the information that we've already received, I would like to have a public hearing. When we were given the applications to be received, some of the information, I would say, actually, we didn't have the total application. Because when I read that some of the things that are up here describe your application, some of the things that were there, if they're going to be taking place in that building or in that neighborhood, I think it requires a public hearing. It does affect the residents.
What I'm trying to say to you is that you don't even have all the information yet.
I know that,
and
but I
you
think
still
what the
come
ad
with that.
information the public should have.
Yeah.
And I don't want to keep it secret between you and me. I'd
Well,
like it
no,
right out there.
That's not my point at all.
And I did not have this when we received the information. When we get the sheet that says applications to be received, this total information is not on it.
Yeah, well, I'd like my client to speak to how this application got filed, just so that the record is clear.
Well,
And we understand, and we
that's
have a
fine.
lot
I would
more
like him to
information
do that,
give
though.
you.
I would like him to do that. I'm not stopping you that. I wanted to let
I'm
you
just
know
surprised
my
that you would make
feelings.
that
I don't know
motion
what they're
at the
feeling.
beginning rather than after hearing what we had to say. I mean,
Well, the only
it's a
reason is,
legitimate motion.
the only reason is that all the information you would present, you'd have to re-present to the public after the public found out, and it was a public hearing.
Well, the information is going to be part of the record, that it'll be available to the public. And that-
But they won't read it. You
They
know
won't have
that.
had notice.
Well, that's without.
I'd like to, because I don't know why we get in an argument with it over it. All I'm saying, and I don't even know if someone will make the motion, apparently one will. All I'm saying, myself, I wanted that, and I wanted you to know up front, before you started.
Right, well, I didn't get a word out of my mouth. You said you're looking for a motion for the public hearing.
Because
That's
I
fine.
read this sheet, which we did not have until we got the
Which
packet.
sheet is that? I didn't even know.
This is his application, Town of Enfield site plan application.
Well, why wouldn't the application be in your package to begin with? That's what starts everything.
Well, not,
No.
Not
We
when
get
we took-
applications to be received, and that's where we determine whether it's going to be a site plan without the public hearing or a public hearing. And some of this information that is on here was not on the application to be received. On the application to be received, it basically said what it does here. Site plan approval for a change of use from vacant former auto sales business to a business center with existing building located in a business general, so forth. Business mouse pad and so forth. This is under item 12. That's the type of material that we received when it said application to be received.
It's always my understanding that to get on your agenda for application to be received, you have to file the application.
They do, that's right. And
I think just explain, the commission does not get the full application under applications received.
Oh.
They don't get
Well,
the
that's what I
packet
told
till the agendas go out on Friday. So a lot of times, it's just for practical reasons, you have till 5 o'clock on Wednesday before a meeting to file an application. Sometimes we got 10 applications. There's no way that they're going to get a complete packet at the table the night of the meeting and be able to make a judgment. So they just basically see generally what the application's about, and they say, well, schedule it for the next meeting.
Okay,
It's
so that's true
it's
for
more
any
of a
application, not
management.
just ours, any application.
Any
we're gonna say.
application,
Right,
any
that's
application
right.
they come in, they don't even see the
Had we had the
application
full thing,
form.
I started to tell you, had we had this full thing, I would have said, I would have recommended it not go to a site plan review, but to a public hearing.
Based on what he's saying, though, you would never have the full thing, because they don't give it to you until,
Right.
But we have more
You don't get it
information.
till the
He
Friday.
would have, then you can blame upstairs, I guess, because the way it was presented, if this had been presented, myself would have, who sets the agenda, would have requested a public hearing.
all right, now, so when would this public hearing be?
2 weeks, I guess,
After
as soon as we can
legal
get the
notice tomorrow
legal,
for
it has to be
Saturday.
legal noticed.
Now, in terms of trying to address your concern about being duplicitous, and also trying to address the concern that we frequently hear that you haven't had time to review the information, what would you like me to do with the written information that I want to submit tonight?
If you will
Submit
submit it, and he can stamp it received, and it would be right in their packets. Actually, I guess you could give it to us
Want to hand
tonight.
it out right now, that'd be fine also. I mean, it's all part of the record, as long as I get a copy and.
I don't think anyone implied you were being duplicitous.
No, I
I certainly
don't-
didn't,
Well,
and I
no,
don't think the chairman
no,
did
no,
either.
listen, I don't mean, I meant in the sense that you didn't want you said that if we go through, whatever I say tonight, I would have to repeat it to public hearing.
Yeah,
Only
it
because the
would.
public needs notice.
By
Yes.
duplicitous, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
duplicative.
No,
Oh,
yeah.
duplicative.
Duplicative, not
Okay.
duplicitous.
Duplicitous means,
My-
Okay.
Deceitful.
funny, yeah,
Yes,
right.
yes.
Okay, no,
sound right to me either,
that's all, I just,
duplicative.
Okay.
I mean, if there was a way, actually, to tell you the truth, I didn't read this until yesterday, and if I could have had, you know, we get the delivery on Friday, and I was busy reading this, I didn't read it until yesterday, and I called Jose, there was no way to change it until I would ask tonight, but again, it's not up to me, it's whether the rest of the commissioners vote, and I have no idea what they're gonna vote.
So I think, just to get, so we're all on the same page here, I think, as Jose pointed out earlier, this is a site plan review.
Right.
That under your prerogative of, under 9.10.3, you're entitled, because of the commission's determination that it's in the public interest that the site plan review have a public hearing.
Right,
But it's still gonna be reviewed as a site plan.
absolutely.
That's the case law.
That's
A lot of
required
towns
by
have
law.
that.
Yeah,
And the case law says regardless of whether you held a public hearing or not, it's still a site plan.
Yeah.
So you can't apply special use permit criteria to, all you can do is, and we've done that before, I think when the hospital, on Dewana Hazard Avenue,
Avenue?
new hospital for
Yes.
Hartford Hospital
Yes.
came in, it was a
Yes.
site plan, but because it was.
We've done that
because
for,
of the nature of the project and the neighborhood, you decided to have a public hearing, but it still was the criteria.
we've also done that mostly
Public,
for,
site plan and the timeframes for site plan. You have a total of 65 days to act on and including any times for hearings.
I believe we've also done that when we've done things out towards King Street on the
Correct.
applications out there because of the proximity to
Kings Court.
the King's Court, right.
So 2 weeks is what date?
15th.
Now, what I'd like to do, do you want me, can I identify these things that I'm handing in?
Please.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
And then,
And we can get that right and do that part.
And we'll get them in the packets.
Well, yeah, you can take them tonight. If you noticed, I just pulled mine out.
Ah, okay.
I pulled mine out so it doesn't go upstairs and I'll have it.
oh, give me them, here, if you want to speak while you're handing them out, you can, oops.
the first,
Yeah, here.
No, but the thing is, you always have,
But he said we can't do that.
no, but
The first exhibit I'm going to give you is actually a much better illustration of the floor plan than you have in that preliminary concept plan that you were just referring to, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we will submit a full-scale,
oops, sorry.
full-scale plan to revise the preliminary concept plan that you have before you.
Okay.
That looks like what you've got before you.
No scale. I don't know, somebody may ask you, on the one I have here, attorney, there's no scale.
But that's right. This, and what I'm going to say is what you see before you is going to be put on that plan, that
Okay.
full-scale plan with a full scale.
Okay.
The reason I submitted this application is because in the haste of the contractor to get an application, and he didn't put in the latest building
Okay.
model that
Okay.
they have, and this is what it's going to purport to look like. So you will have that before the meeting. I wanted to
Okay.
get it to you as soon as possible.
Okay,
Shelves, yeah. Spell shelves correctly.
Contractor, he can build, can't spell.
yes, sir.
Do you have a copy of this?
I believe you might have
Let
you
him
might
give-
have this already, but you don't have the third page. I think the third page has some illustrations. I don't have a color printer. But, the illustrations show what the interior is going to look like, and you can kind of somewhat match it up with the floor plan that I showed you. And this is their, again, their latest business model, which we'll describe in more detail at the hearing.
No, it's
The next document is a 7-page document that describes and summarizes in a little more detail the business model, what the business center is going to do, and it also gets into some more detail about the promotion aspect of their business model and its legality in the state of Connecticut. Here's one for you, Jose.
Yeah, okay. Now, in your presentations, you'll reintroduce these.
If you want me to, I will.
Yeah, no, you should, really. This is all material. It should have been probably in the material that we received.
When you come back, when we come back, that's 50, you'll have those, right? Each one of these exhibits?
Oh, yeah, that's going to be.
You're stamping it, was it?
Yeah, whoever's not here will get a copy.
Peter and Ron.
Yeah, I'll make extras in case somebody forgets to bring theirs.
Okay.
So.
Are there any extras? Yes.
Jose? Do they have a copy of Exhibit 15 to, because they'll be wanting to respond to that?
Yeah, the one we just put in.
Yes.
Yeah, today. Yeah, I could forward it to it's an email, so I could forward it to
Jose,
you.
do I
Gonna
should
get some
open
questions
this?
about it.
Should I've opened this as an SPR?
I think you did. You
Okay, well,
called it, right? No?
no.
You called the applicant. It's not a hearing, so.
Okay, well-
Yet, so.
All right. I didn't know if
Not
I
like
had
you
to
open
have-
or close, you
I
call
didn't
the
know if I had to
applicant
take a
forward and he's
roll or
explaining
not. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it's up to, yeah. I just have, let him make what he wants to do this evening. Because they're here,
The next applicant, the next exhibit is a graph showing the increase in the use of the particular calling cards that this business uses. Calling cards, calling cards that you use instead of having AT&T or Verizon, you can buy these calling cards to use.
oh, all right.
Which
that
is
was
a-
minutes.
especially-
Minutes.
Right, yeah, it's quite a bit less expensive, and this chart just shows the growth that the calling cards that are available at this facility has shown. This is weekly, and it shows from when they started in 2009 to the present. I don't know if there's enough to go around, but this is a chart.
Jose can reproduce some of them, I guess. How many you got?
These all will be exhibited and it'll be in the packets of those that weren't here, and I'll make extra copies for the.
Actually, I appreciate this because
Yeah.
this is the information we needed.
Well, the reason that I wanted you to have it tonight is so that you could read through it and have questions at the
That's,
public
yeah,
hearing.
yeah, very good.
Now, the next thing is, I
It
didn't
would have been
make-
nice to have had it really beforehand.
Right, and now they'll explain it. I'll have Scott here explain it, but I just got involved in this Friday. And the application was filed, the day before the deadline?
Correct.
And they wanted to get on as soon as possible, and so unfortunately, they got
That
it.
sometimes gets run into a problem, okay.
The last document I'm going to present is, I didn't make copies for all of it because I don't know that you're all going to want to read this, but Jose can make them. This is a legal opinion written by Attorney Thomas Fricke, who's a legal expert in the area of promotions that are used in this business. And he anticipating there to be some questions of a legal nature concerning the promotional aspect of the business. He examined the applicability of Connecticut law to this particular use and how this business model was going to be run. And in anticipation of that, I've got 2 full copies. It's a lengthy document, and there's some exhibits to it in his curriculum vitae. And we also may bring him here on the 15th.
Jose, could we get a copy of that to the town attorney?
Well, I think that's, you know,
I was wondering how
like a
to,
drainage report. You don't want to know
how the best to do it, to have him summarize it, or
we can get it over to the town attorney and have them look at it and just to summarize it for you.
Put it in our
And
packet.
I don't know if you want to read
If the
a
commissioners want
40-page
it,
brief.
not in, probably it's not in layman's terms. If an attorney wrote it, I don't know.
Is there any way that our town attorney can look at it within the week so that his opinion can be in our packet next Friday? That would be great.
I'll see about that. I know. Yeah, I know we. Yeah, I'll. No, I know they were working on researching this, but again, they didn't have any information, so this would be very helpful.
Is that
anybody
2
else wants
copies, or
one.
is that one copy?
Two copies of the same thing.
Okay.
I'd like to read it, so if you scan it out.
All right, it should be easy enough to scan. It's all one-sided, so
that's why I made
I
it
think
one-sided.
that's all one-sided. It might
Oh,
be
all
correct.
right.
So good. It'll be easy to scan. We'll run it through the scanner.
Then, well, I think Attorney Fahey may want to summarize that too at the hearing. Public
Oh yeah,
hearing.
we'll go into that and at the hearing, obviously, and I'm hoping that if there's any questions that are generated by staff or you know, the commission through staff prior to the hearing that you want us to address at the public hearing, I'd be glad to do that. And I'm hoping that one of the reasons we gave the legal opinion tonight is hopefully if the town attorney has any questions, we can address those at the hearing as well. Well, I read it.
Well, it's a hot
I
thing.
read
If
it
he
in one
can't do
night.
it, then
So
that's his problem.
We
Basically,
have, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
In 2 weeks, we have another big public hearing. Is the apartments on the 15th?
No, they haven't.
We don't have anything.
Oh, nothing. Okay,
Whatever
okay.
we've continued from tonight, we have no application to be received, so we're
They had 15 days to appeal that hearing, and they haven't filed yet for that.
they're still working on their engineering plans, and so that we won't get an application anytime soon.
I appreciate this material.
Okay.
It would have been very helpful to have had it tonight.
Ahead of time.
Well, unfortunately,
I know.
you know, they've never. This is their first effort in Connecticut. They've worked in facilities in some. Where the states, Scott, that and
Massachusetts,
New Hampshire,
Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, Ohio.
but this particular business center is a new model for them. That's why we've taken the time to lay it out here and to show all the attributes of the services and the retail services that are going to be available. And also the site happens to be, you know, it's one of those underutilized buildings,
yeah.
and it would be nice to fill it up. I understand a jewelry store is going to go at one end of it, and
Well, that one hasn't come through yet, I don't
Yeah.
think.
there's an intent for that. And their volleyball is right next to them. And
Then there's still 2 more units?
One more unit next to us on the left.
But I mean, does that include the jewelry store?
That includes, yeah.
So there's one more after the jewelry store?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought by looking tonight, that there would be two, well, actually, there's 3 vacant spots right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
The area that's called proposed limited storage, is that part of your application? I haven't gone through that. Or is that to be used by some other
Well, we're
party?
going to
in
use
the
it as a
future?
distribution and put all it, because we're out of Florida, corporate office and stuff.
Wow.
So we have a lot of material and
So
equipment.
it's like 80 or 90% of the space is going to be that, and only
You
10 or
want to
20.
save that till
Yeah.
the hearing?
Okay, just curious. as to
We'll go
whether
into
that's
that.
part of it or not. Yeah.
I don't know.
Didn't know.
It's okay,
That's all right.
still early.
Okay. If you want to say anything, because there had been, I guess maybe through rumors, I don't know, that this was coming in and people, so that too was a reason wanting the public hearing on it.
Well, based upon what you said earlier, rather than give my presentation, then I'll save it for the
Yeah,
public hearing.
right, but I appreciate you giving
But I
us this
wanted-
material to look at, to have.
We were not expecting a vote anyway tonight. But we wanted to talk about it and put a presentation on it and give you this material so you could dwell on it. But
Well, I think you also have answered some of my calls because Jose had asked the town attorney if there were Connecticut regulations, and
Yeah,
you've
there's,
come forward with it, so
there's a detailed analysis of all the Connecticut regulations, and
we appreciate that.
if you the what I gave you on the 7-page document is essentially a bullet point synopsis of the legal opinion, except it doesn't go into all the detailed legal analysis of the Connecticut statutes and interpretive information that is cited with legal precedent, which is in the legal brief.
Okay. Jose?
Fine. I think I'll get all the information over tomorrow. Again, I won't be around next week, but I will be around tomorrow, so I'll prepare everything.
Okay.
It's ready to go for the packets, and I'll, Oh, man.
Mr. Chairman, do you need
I got
some-
a plane ticket first thing Saturday morning, so I'm out of here.
Mr. Chairman, do you need some kind of a motion? I'm not sure if we open this SPR or not.
Well, no, this
or-
is SPR. Yes, I would like, if you care to make a motion to have this as a public hearing on the 15th, the chair would entertain such a motion if that's your desire.
They're still looking for,
I'll make a motion to take up SPR 1575 at our next meeting on November 15th as a public hearing.
Motion's made, seconded, discussion. My thoughts again were this change to the area because it's a residential area to surrounding both west and east, that the residents might be concerned about it, and there has been some mumblings through the community concerning it, and it's better to have it go to public hearing than to not to go to a public hearing.
okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, public hearing, opposed, it's unanimous 700, and that'll be on the 15th, and they're the only ones on the agenda?
Well, the gentleman, we have to read legal notice.
I'm sorry?
The commercial vehicle, we have to read legal
Oh, yeah.
notice. Haynes. The one that we put the extra N, we didn't forget to put
Yes,
the N in.
yes.
On the street name.
Haynes Street.
Talk about it.
So what
an
did you
end.
say about the legal notice? I'm sorry.
I said, that's the one, the one for the,
Oh,
we forgot to put the N
okay.
in, they'll be on the.
But that's not a major
No,
hearing.
that shouldn't be a big one. Just.
This
just
may
so
not be,
The
too.
applicant's
I don't
required,
know.
one of the requirements that we have to notice it the same way we do all public hearings. That means you have to come by tomorrow and pick up four public hearing signs. You got 4 frontages, I think, right? At least 4. The property surrounded, I think,
Is that a street between you and the dealership?
you may not,
No.
It's right, dealership's right next door.
oh, you may not
There's a
have it on that
dealership,
street, you're right. There may
and there's a
it may be
fence.
3, maybe, I think along
But
your
there's a
south
fence in
side.
back of you, should they post
South
it?
side. Yes, that, yeah, you do back up to.
You're directly on the street and back,
To back, so that's one, you have to post a public clearing facing that.
on the other side of the
Now, on the
fence.
north side, you abut a street, so that's one, and then you have to face one on Enfield, so that's 3 public hearing signs. At least 10 days, so if I, public.
I'll come see Barbara tomorrow.
Come see Barbara, it's a $10 per sign. Yeah, it has to be up no later than Monday, because that's the 10 days. We can squeeze it in. The legal notice will be on Saturday, and next Saturday and the Thursday before the hearing. So it'll be in there twice.
Yeah.
Was there something, some other document, something, Exhibit 15 or someone?
Oh,
Yeah, I'll email it to you.
Okay.
It's an email that I just sent. It was dated yesterday, so.
That was from who?
That was from me, and I think I was just forwarding you it contained Detective Cooper's comments,
Okay.
the comments from the police department. So, I'll make sure, I'll make a note right now, forward.
Okay.
I don't think we got anything else. You've already talked to Debbie Corona, or she's talked to you, the health department?
She sent me a package on that. I need to
Okay,
call her
because
back.
I noticed you said you'd be serving food or have food service.
Well, sometimes when we have like a computer class, we'll order a pizza outside or something like that, you know?
All right.
We won't be, yeah,
We won't be selling any.
fixing anything.
No, I know, but she's already, I read that in there, but,
I think she misunderstood that, well, catered or something like that, like I was catering or something like that. So
okay.
maybe I wrote it wrong.
Anything else? That's it, okay.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you for the material, it's gonna be helpful, I hope. Okay, let's see, any other business? How about your chickens, what's happening?
Kevin Deneen was on vacation this week, so he wasn't around to meet with. So I have a call-in, so I'm hoping to schedule something before the next meeting.
Okay, and check with Summers if you can.
Yeah, and I will check with him.
Anything else, Jose?
That's it. Like I said,
Yes.
East Hampton, Massachusetts had pretty good, clean
Chickens.
regulation that went right through.
For what?
Chickens.
Chickens?
Hens.
East
Well,
Hampton.
I don't know, I hope we have them ready for spring when the chicken.
Well, it
chicken?
is a big thing now. People want fresh eggs.
I
mean,
know
you know,
they do.
it's.
I see some signs around town, fresh eggs.
You could have chicken for Thanksgiving.
Control what they're eating too.
We're done.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
You make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor? Opposed? Any
8:10,
abstentions?
that's a record.
Wow.